morning. It's Sunday, April 17th, the second day of Passover. And the Ukraine continues to amaze the world, at least most of the world that's on its side. Just recently, in this battle that is going on with Russia, I wouldn't call it a battle exactly. I would call it a great defense that Ukraine is putting up. Going to win this war in any way, shape, or form unless Russia just runs out of people to keep fighting and ammunition. Today, we talk about the warship that the Russians lost. One of the prime warships in their navy was sunk in missile. Although the Russians deny that, they claim that they had a fire on board the ship. So the Moskva was sunk, and we don't know how many men were injured or died in this event because the Russians won't admit to any losses. As far as they're concerned, the ship went down and there was a fire on board, and they won't tell you what really happened. And that's been the whole case in this entire war. Russia is living in this state of euphoria that is created by Putin. Admit that he's losing the battle, not physically losing the battle, but mentally losing the battle. And what's the point of this fight? You're taking over a destroyed country if you win this thing. It will take you years and years and years to put the Ukraine back to some kind of normal. Why? Why are you destroying this country? Why couldn't you have attempted to just negotiate and then accept the fact that they don't want to be part of Russia anymore? What is the big deal? It's all in his head. The big deal is in his head. He wants the USSR to return to power in some way, shape, or form. And that's never going to happen. And why couldn't he be just happy with the billions of dollars that he was reaping in from his oil, wheat, and whatever else he's selling to the rest of the world? Why isn't peace in the man's mind, in his future? Why this madness about domination and taking back part of the world? Was NATO really a threat to him? I don't think so, but he thinks so. Down a country that could be a great country if they had the proper management. Anyhow, the sinking of the Moskva is not going to change the course of this battle. The Russian Navy so far has not played a big role in this battle. But this sinking is going to raise a lot of questions about Russia's longer-term naval capabilities. And it could have a major impact on their future. So Russia has to review its posture, its naval posture in the Black Sea, because this was the leading ship in that area. This was Russia's big vessel in that area. Even though the ship is over 50 years old, and probably half of the equipment on that ship is of that time, it hasn't been upgraded that much as far as we know. So it's not a big deal in terms of the war that this ship went down, but it's a big deal psychologically. Now, I don't know that the Russian people are ever going to find out about this. In fact, I don't know what the Russian people are thinking, because many of their children have died in this battle, and I don't know how they're handling that back home, because the Russians have kept a tight lid on all kinds of communications. As far as I know, the Russians have really used very few warships in a very limited fashion during this war with the Ukraine. They carried out a couple of strikes and they resupplied some troops in the south, but Russia hasn't used their navy effectively. I mean, they could have sat out in the ocean and thrown missiles at the Ukraine and not lost 15 or 20,000 people. So this is another black mark on the Russian military, that they didn't think this thing out properly. They just thought they're going to march in and take over the place. And it's a big mistake. Underestimating the Ukrainian mentality and the Ukrainian will has been Russia's downfall. And if we, the United States and the European Union, acted like the Ukrainians acted, Russia would be defeated already. If we had closed up the oil and shut down their oil business and taken steps to stop him immediately, even before the battle started, the world would be in better shape. And certainly the Ukraine wouldn't be devastated. For a while, the Russians lied to the world about the fire on the ship and not admitting that it was a missile strike. They moved the rest of their ships further out to sea. So why would they move their ships further out to sea if it wasn't a missile strike? So anybody who's watching this war closely really knows what happened in the Black Sea, and that this prime ship in the Russian Navy was taken down by a Ukrainian missile. So now with the Moskva at the bottom of the sea, Russia has to figure out some way to deploy additional air defense and other assets for the protection of the rest of their fleet. And Russia doesn't have any other ship that could take the Moskva's place. They have other ships that were similar to it, but they weren't well equipped. They haven't been upgraded. So this is a disaster. This sinking of this ship is a disaster because it shows to the world that the Russians are clearly defeatable and that they are taking it on the chin now in the Ukraine. And so if Moscow, if Putin wins in some way, shape, or form, his image to most of the world is shot. He will not be the same guy anybody thinks. And maybe his lone ally will be a defeated president. Who knows what's going to happen in the future? All we know is that the war is being won by the Ukrainians. Not physically won, mentally won. And we also know that NATO and the EU and the US didn't really react very quickly and are still dragging their feet on putting an end to Russia's place in the oil industry. So I leave you with those thoughts this morning, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.